Hi, I'm Mary from Joyful and Merry Quilting, and today I am going to show you 5 tips to keep your ruler from slipping. These simple tips are great ways for you to avoid this slip while you're cutting yardage, squaring up blocks, foundation piecing, or simply cutting fabric strips or squares. As a quilter, one of the most frustrating things is not being able to have control over our ruler and either ruining a strip by cutting it too short or ruining a block by cutting it incorrectly just because the ruler slipped. So here are my 5 favorite options or tools that work within any budget to avoid this issue. The first tip that I have is a ruler that is specifically designed not to slip. This is a Quilters Select ruler. The Quilters Select rulers, they have a whole line, every shape possible, and I love them for this very reason. When I was having wrist issues, I couldn't hold my ruler down and put a lot of pressure on it because it hurt my wrist. You don't need to put any pressure on this Quilters Select ruler at all. When I hold it down, just holding it lightly, I can still easily cut. When you push your cutter against the ruler, it does not allow for any movement. It just holds it in place because it has this non-skid surface on the back. So I think this is really effective. They're a little pricey, but it's a great product, and again, it works really well. The one issue that I have with it is when I do use it on a light fabric, it's very easy to see through. When I use it on a dark fabric, as you can see, it's a little opaque, so you have to pay close attention to the measurements and the markings to make sure that you have those accurate measurements. It's not a huge deal. Usually, for the most part, you're just focusing on that outside edge, and it cuts easily with this non-skid surface. My second tip when it comes to using a non-skid ruler would be the Creative Grids non-slip ruler. I have all sizes. I really like these. They do have some almost sandpapery feel circles or dots on the back that help to keep, especially right along this edge, it helps to keep the ruler straight and steady. It does have a little bit of slip to it, as you can see, not as much as the one without any of that protective surface, but it does have a little. I like it to have a little bit of movement just because sometimes when you're lining things up, you want to be able to lightly move it. And when you are using a totally non-skid surface, you have to actually move the ruler. And sometimes you just want to move it just a tiny bit. And I like the Creative Grids for that reason. Again, it can slip a little bit when you are cutting. So it's not totally non-skid as the Quilters Select, but it does do a pretty good job. The nice thing about the Creative Grids rulers is they do have white lines as well. So when you are positioning your ruler on a dark fabric, as you can see, those lines show up and give you a little bit better view when it comes to what you're cutting. And I like that feature as well. My third tip is the TrueGrips non-slip adhesive rings. I bought these at the fabric shop. They're by the Grace Company. They were $6.99. You get 15 small, which is basically the center of the larger circle. And you can use these on any size ruler. As you can see, I have these on my ruler already, and they do not show up. You can sort of see them, you know where they are. But they don't distract from the markings on the ruler, and I really like that. I like that, being able to see through it. If you look on the back, I don't know if you can see it, I have one here, one here, one here, here, here. They also have little tiny dots, the centers of these, that you can put either on a smaller ruler or in other places. I position these just, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to see. Place it down, and it is pretty good. I mean, my fabric is moving because I'm shoving it, but my ruler is not sliding on the fabric, so that when I do cut, I think that it really holds my fabric in place. It's not as tight as the Quilters Select. Now, maybe if I put more of these dots around the edge, it would give me a little bit better grip. I didn't do that. They are removable, so you can move them if you need to. And let's move them over on this side and just see if that makes a difference. So I'm removing those little, there's no residue there when I move them. Repositioning them, now let's see, when I turn it over, oh yeah, makes a big difference. So it seems to me that I need to have some in the center, but I also need to have them around the edge. This is the first time I'm using these, and I'm pretty impressed. When I go to cut, they're going to stay in place. So I like that. TrueGrips by the Grace Company. Again, there's only 15 here, so you have to make sure that you are pretty careful how you use them. I don't know how long you can move them from place to place, but I didn't have any trouble just moving them now twice. So I think, again, pretty good alternative to having your ruler slip around. When you're placing this on the darker fabric, you can see now those grips and where I put them, but they're not in the way. I can still see my lines no more opaque than the Quilters Select rulers from what I can see. So once again, I think it works for both. My fourth tip is a great option, but there's also a lot you should be aware of to make the most out of it. This inexpensive Walgreens, you can buy it anywhere, this is just generic Walgreens clear tape. It's not paper tape, but it is just the clear tape that you use for bandaging. It's in the first aid section. And when you pull it off, it is opaque, but it tears easily, and you can use it similarly to what I did with the little circles. You can place them on your ruler. Now, I bought this years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, and I put it on this ruler because this was a skinny ruler, 4 inches by 14, and it was moving, it was slipping on me, and that's why I put it on this particular ruler, and it did not move. It still doesn't move. As I said, I've had this on my ruler. I never took it off. I've had it on there for at least 3 or 4 years, maybe more, probably more. So I tried to peel it off today just to see if it was going to leave any residue, and it actually peels off pretty well. There's nothing there. There was a little residue right at the end that you can use like Gooby Gone or any of that kind of stuff on there, something 409, something that you can remove that. You don't want to use anything with acetone in it because it will color your plastic and it will turn it cloudy, ruin your ruler, so make sure that the cleaning product does not have acetone. But it does come off and it sticks right back on again. This stuff is just, it just seems to be long lasting, and it still does hold my ruler in place pretty well. I'm going to just experiment with it just for a second on this particular ruler, the one that we see has all that slip on it. A couple things, if you're going to do this with your ruler, I did notice it's most important that you balance the pieces of tape in the corners, possibly here and in the center. You want to make sure you have one in the center. As much as it's very, very thin, it still is giving a little rise to your ruler, and you don't want to have any space between the ruler and your fabric. And just putting a tiny piece of this in the center will work. So I tested it with long strips. I tested it with short strips. I don't think it really makes that much difference. If you put the square in the middle and then maybe some in the corners. You can do the long strips like I did. The only reason I did that was because I didn't know any better, and I just wanted to make sure that it was non-slip, and it worked really well. But I did notice that it needs to be toward the edge. You want to make sure that it's not all in the center, because once again, you want to have it even all the way across. So here we go. I've got one in the center, and I've got the ones in the corners. And oh yeah, that works really well. This is not, you saw how it slipped before. It is not slipping at all. So this is just a really great do-it-yourself way. Now I'm going to show you though, when we put it on the dark fabric, it shows up. You're going to see it. So it still does its job, and it is far enough over inside the ruler that we can still take advantage of that 1/4 inch line pretty much. I think I went over a little bit here, but I think I'd be careful about that. Just make sure that your 1/4 inch line is visible, because we use that quite a bit. If you're going to purchase rulers that have the non-skid surface on them, those work. They do a great job depending on your needs and the blocks that you are working on, the fabric that you're cutting. But I really think for a do-it-yourself, you can put these on, you can take them off when you're finished, and you can get a lot for $6. You can get a lot out of these 2 rolls of tape. So this do-it-yourself way I think is great. One more tip, my 5th tip for you, is when we are cutting long pieces of fabric. I've seen people do this, and I didn't know if it was a good idea or not, so I thought, well, I'll give it a try, see if it works. So what I've done here, let's say we're going to cut a strip. We've placed our ruler on the fabric, and the issue that we have is holding that piece down and having it not slip as we are cutting the piece, since it's long. Our hand can't hold it just here and then continue cutting. We have to walk up, which we do as we're cutting. We walk up the ruler and then we cut. But again, it's difficult to make sure that we still have this lined up. So I've seen suggestions where you just take some kind of a weight and put it at the end of your ruler. So I've got this, you can't really see my whole piece because of the limited view we have here, but I would put this at the end of my ruler, and it makes a huge difference keeping this in check so that we can cut and you don't have that movement of the ruler. I've also seen people take a dumbbell type weight. The problem with mine, of course, is it rolls, but you can buy the ones that have the flat edges around, and I think that will hold it down as well. Either one works, but it's a great way to keep that ruler flat and enable you to cut without using so much pressure on your hand. That's such an issue with all of us. When it comes to keeping your rulers from slipping and sliding as you're cutting, you're going to save fabric, you're going to save pieces that might be ruined if you cut incorrectly. It's also a safer way. When you have a ruler that slips and you're holding a rotary cutter, it can easily cut you if it gets out of control. So the more control we have with our rulers, the better we are when it comes to our accuracy and our safety in creating our quilt blocks and cutting our strips and squares. I absolutely love testing products, so you don't have to. So please make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for weekly quilting tips, tutorials, product comparisons, and more, and let me know in the comments what you'd like me to cover for future videos. I am always trying to be joyful, but I will always be merry. Thank you for watching.